Welcome to the LibreQuest podcast. My name is Matt. This is episode 43. I'm joined today by a Linux developer and content creator, Imam. How are you, Imam?
I'm good, very much. How are you, Matt?
Oh, I'm doing well.
Thanks for coming.
Yes. Thank you for being on the podcast. This is exciting to me.
Yeah, we are in the different time zone. It's completely like 180 degree.
Yeah. What time is it? What time is it there?
Sydney, almost 1:30.
Oh wow.
AM.
Yeah. It's only 10:30 here, so.
Yeah.
it's
Day and night different.
Yeah, early for me and late for you. So you do a lot of gaming comparison videos across different hardware, and I was going to ask you, what are your favorite tools for game testing or benchmarking on Linux?
I'm a simple guy. I do use very simple tools. So far, I have found one video recording tool. It's called Simple Screen Recorder. Have you heard of this one?
Yes. Yep, I have.
Yeah, I found this tool relatively good than other tools available because it uses a library. If you compare it to other tools available on Linux, they're kind of like a Unix, like a front end for the command line tools, right? You could use FFmpeg to do the things, but it's not quite, how to say, the latency and the performance is not quite good. Yeah, so for recording, I use a Simple Screen Recorder. And for FPS benchmark, I use Mango Hard, and what's the other one? Like the standard tools available, I don't really use any other tools which are invisible from the most people. Yeah.
Does Mango HUD, does that one work with OpenGL too? I think I've tried it.
It has OpenGL, Vulkan, whatever you name it. It has everything.
Okay.
And yep.
Yeah, I've tried that one in the past, and Simple Screen Recorder as well. I just wasn't sure. I couldn't remember if it had OpenGL support or if it was just DXVK. So okay, what I know you do like a lot of videos on gaming, so I'm kind of curious as to if you have like a top 5 titles for like this year for Linux gamers.
Top 5 titles.
Yeah, like top 5.
Literally, you could play all the Windows games nowadays.
I know.
It's available, and so I would say Cyberpunk.
Okay.
And Hitman. And number 2, Hitman, the latest one, Hitman 3, Hitman 1, 2, 3, all of them. And then, what's the other one? And the Metro, the latest one.
I think is it Exodus?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what else? There are lots of them coming up, actually. It depends what you like, actually. I would say Linux in nowadays is not like before. Literally, you could play all the PC games.
Yeah.
So there's no shortage. Yeah.
What about I haven't tried Hitman 3. How does that play?
It plays smoothly, pretty good.
Is that
just like Windows?
Is that one available on Steam?
Yep.
Oh, it is. Okay.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, I think my cousin or somebody had told me that it was only available on a certain platform, so I hadn't tried it yet. I didn't know if it was on Steam or not. So, okay, let's. I want to talk about your development because you're also a developer as well as a Linux user gamer. You have a project called, I'm going to say it wrong, but Gothashilota? I don't know.
You're making me laugh here.
Gothashilota. Okay.
It means motion, or motion. It means motion in Bengali.
Oh, okay.
Because my background is from Bangladesh, so
Very cool.
I use the word, Bengali word for this. But if you ask me, this is just one of the, I would say, it's just a helper library I'm using internally for my research, for my work. It has to do with the, if objects in motion, speed, velocity, things like this, different parameters calculation. It's very simple, just math library. And for development, I'm using Python because it's just really easy to do numerical calculations, especially if you are a researcher or an engineer, you want to use these tools. And Python, I would say, but before I was a C, I love C programming. And C on Linux goes very well, if you ask me.
I see you have a Imam B, which is a binary decimal in C. Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
What does that one do? Like, how does that one work?
This is just nothing. This is you're making. This is because in C there's now a standard function to show binary, right? If you use a printf function, it doesn't show binary. Or literals. You cannot show data in binary format. Or show means you want to print information into the console, right? So this library just converts any numeric value to binary as a string value, so you can print them in the console.
So what would you use that information for?
Especially if you're a debugger, you're a developer, binary is very useful. Suppose you're playing with two variables, you're combining these two variables, and you want to see the outcome of the binary, but in binary. Because you can store more information in binary than just using integer or as we understand as human, float number, floating point. Say you wanna, in 1 byte you can store literally like 32 bits of information. So one byte you can store 8 different switch. So it helps. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't do any C programming or Python myself. So.
Are you a dev or?
I mean, no, I don't know. If I want to get something done,
so I don't want to import.
Yeah. No, well, usually, if I want to get something done, if I have something in mind, I'll just pick whatever language is easiest and just do that. And it's usually I needed to make an app, so I made an app, and I wanted something for a desktop, so I made an Electron app, and then export it as an app image, and that kind of really simple stuff. But I'm not super into it. I just if I need to get something done, or if I have a project that I'm working on, I might go and see, well, this language might work to do what I need to do, but it's not something I do all the time.
Right.
So I wouldn't say I'm really a developer. I'm just kind of I just make stuff for if there's something I need to get done. So pretty simple stuff that I do.
Just like me.
Yeah, I don't know. So you on your because I found you through YouTube, and on your page you say you're a longtime Linux user, and so I'm kind of curious, how did you first get introduced to Linux?
Actually, this is the longest story, maybe. We don't have much time.
No, go for it.
I'll try to confine things into very short, because also it's a long memory. When I was exposed, first I was exposed to Windows 95. I say 20 years, 30 years ago. No, I'm now here talking too far. Maybe 20 years ago, it was talking about Windows 98, right?
Okay.
And then I kind of fed up with Windows, because my first exposure to any programming was Visual Basic, right? Because I fed up with playing games on Windows 98, and I was trying different emulators like Sega emulators in those days. And then I just got I was just curious mind, I would just go into different settings in Windows, and then I was thinking, how could I make my own programs, right? How do you make your own program? Then I started searching for ways. Then I found a book, it's called Visual Basic, right? I started reading this book, and then it's fascinating. Then I found a way to build program using Visual Basic IDE, right? It's very fascinating. And all this X file format and all this, it's very fascinating. Then at some point, I got kind of fed up with Windows. I just thought, is everything closed here? Like, I want to learn how things work, right?
Yeah.
And then somehow, I don't know how, yeah, I was into this computer shop, right? And I saw Red Hat 7.
Nice. Yeah, that's
This
awesome.
is like with the big head. Then I asked the shop owner, what is this? I didn't know like different operating system existed, right?
Yeah.
Only we
No.
know in those days, Windows. So I asked, what is this? He said, this is the operating system. It's just like Windows, but it's different. Then I just bought, right away I bought it. I bought the disk. Still remember, it had 3 disks. And I managed to install Red Hat 7, 7.1. It was, yeah. And then, but I was having a lot of problem configuring the hardware. But it's a long journey,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I don't know how many times I had to reformat my hard drive. I lost data.
Yeah. I think that
But
was
I couldn't do. Yeah,
no.
I lost my data.
Yeah, I think that was part of the like in the early days. That was part of the experience, like totally destroying
Yeah.
your system.
I screwed my sister a couple of times, I lost my data, all my data gone. I reformatted my hard drive. Then I tried finding a way to recover them and found, but I did recover some of them using, there's something called image recovery program, command line. So you could recover some files. So I recovered some image files, some old pictures stored somewhere in my hard drive, but I could not recover all my Visual Basic projects, Windows projects,
Man, yep.
and so in this Linux experimental projects, I lost all my I would say 50% of my Visual Basic because I had a lot of hobby projects, Visual Basic in Windows. And yeah, and the first thing I noticed in Linux is lack of, I would say, multimedia support, right?
The
I was having
codecs, yeah.
problem with getting the sound card working and playing MP3 files, like the simple things we are used to in Windows, right?
Yeah, you're like, wait, they pay for those codecs? I had no idea. I thought it was just part of the computer. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I was very happy I found Linux, and I'm spending a lot of time in Linux. I was spending basically exploring everything. Naturally, I was into computers. I would say, like software, how the interface and everything, front end, different control panel settings, different settings. I'm just curious about computers and stuff like this, software world.
Yeah, I think that's like the most common between Linux users. It's usually the type of person that wants to tinker, wants to know how things work. That really get
I was
attracted to
into this.
Linux.
I was so amazed by these things, like so many settings in Linux, and then you can do certain things in so many ways, not just one way. And especially command line was like, wow! I never knew command line in Windows.
Well,
It was like, wow! I found the holy grail,
yeah,
the whole command line thing.
so you didn't you came from what you said Windows 95. Not you weren't like a
Uh,
first DOS user.
No,
Yeah.
the reason is in Windows, in my mind, computer is all about typing, right? Commands.
Okay. Yeah. Hmm.
But when I was reading different computer books, like computer, just literature books, I was just curious in general into computers and all that, and hardware. And they don't talk about graphics much, like GUI. It's all about commands. You send a command to computer and it does something, process, and then you see the output, right?
Yeah.
So when I've compared to the Windows command prompt, um, Linux command prompt is like way better, right? You could do, it's just more flexible, more advanced.
Yeah. Way more programs available. For sure.
Yeah, and the for the first time I saw the command prompt in Linux is like you have color text.
Yeah, that's
This is
true.
just yeah. I was shocked. Wow, we have color in commands, command prompts. This kind of little things in Linux really carried me away. So I started experimenting. Then start buying other distributions because in those days internet was very very slow. We had modems and all that, and only way to get Linux is just the disk CD-ROM. Then the next Linux distribution was Mandrake,
Awesome. Yep.
and
Perfect.
yeah, Mandrake Linux.
I'm a
Because
total Mandrake.
it looked really cool. The Mandrake, the cover, disk cover. It looked
Yep.
so I got fascinated by the color, the Mandrake, and it looked really cool. And especially the penguin, the way they drew the icon and all that. The icon in Mandrake is much much better
Do you remember the
in this
point?
case.
Do you remember the point number you used? Like what
Yeah,
version? it was?
Mandrake 8.1 or something.
Okay, 8.1. Nice. Yep. Did you ever? Just curious. Did you ever run into the font library issue where X386 wouldn't start because it was missing, like, I can't remember the name of the font, but it had the. Did you
So
ever?
many times,
Yes.
so many times.
Oh my gosh.
Especially,
It's
I
awful.
went through so many chaos, in the Linux world.
Yeah.
In the process of learning Linux, it's a lot of chaos, drama.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I just reinstalled. I didn't know what to. I'm like, I don't know what this is. I'm just gonna reinstall the entire thing. So
You know what I did? First thing I noticed about Mandrake Linux, it was having it was damaging my monitor. Yeah, Mandrake did not have a good auto detection support in those days. So first
oh
thing I
yeah,
noticed,
yep. You had
yeah,
like a huge list of things, and you're like, what?
yeah,
Which
you have to
one?
manually select the monitor refresh rate and all that while you're installing Mandrake, and it not pick you the right one, and then if you go with the wrong one, what happens? You end up misconfiguring your monitor,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
you see this strong light coming out from your monitor, and you feel it in your eyes. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
oh, it's hurting my eyes.
Yeah, I remember 8.1. 8.1 had that. I think it was free type is what it was. It was the free type error. I think. I don't remember exactly, but
I would say it has to do with something with color or refresh rate. It was literally hurting my eyes. If I stare at the computer monitor like half an hour, it
yeah,
would hurt my eyes. But it never happened with Red Hat.
yeah, it was probably
Red Hat
like
was,
you probably had the refresh rate was set too high or something. I don't know. That's how.
I think so.
Yeah.
In those days, especially if you had a CRT monitor.
Yes. Yep.
Yes. And yeah, I had lots of fun with them. And then my third distro was SUSE. Wow, SUSE was
Nice.
nice. Yeah, because SUSE did a good job because it configured everything automatically, sound card, everything. I never had problem with SUSE.
And yeah, people always recommended I try it, but I'm pretty stubborn. I stuck with Mandrake till their demise. I stuck with them for a long time. But yeah, the what do they have what is that called? Their control panel. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, everything there you can find.
Yeah, that was pretty epic. I think Mandrake came out with their control center later on to kind of copy that. Was it Yast? Is that what it's called?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
exactly. The reason was, I think, because SUSE was more like focused with the corporate, certain industry. SUSE is from France, right?
Yeah. Probably
Is
so.
it? Yeah. A lot of corporate tools settings were available out of box in SUSE.
Yeah, I think they probably did a better job on that, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a total fanboy. I started with the 7.2. I picked it up with it because they sold it Macmillan distribution. They sold it
Yeah,
in like
and
Walmart.
did you have like lots of discs? Like SUSE came out with this so many discs, right?
Yeah,
5 discs at least.
yeah, I still have like two box copies of it, and there's 5 discs, and like the 5th is like full of proprietary stuff like VMware
Yeah.
and some other CAD software and image editing software and stuff. But yeah, like tons of information. But I mean, like you were saying, the internet was so slow because it was dial up, and you had to have like a download manager to resume your downloads and all that. because you never knew when
Yeah.
somebody was going to get on the phone and drop your connection. But yeah, so like all your repos, so they had to shove a bunch of stuff on those disks so you'd have everything offline.
Yeah, that was a very necessity is the mother of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, but man, I remember those days. Unless you had like if you had a T1 or something that you could use, you were stuck with waiting days and days to get just one
Days and
ISO.
days.
Yeah, it was pretty
Even the
rough.
configuring modem was not easy, mate. You had this dial-up, right? We didn't have broadband in those days, maybe. Yeah, we didn't have it. At least I didn't have it.
Yeah,
I had
I think
what I
the
had modem.
sorry,
Yeah,
I was gonna say
I
I
think
think ISDN was the best you could get like at home.
so. You had ISDN,
No, I didn't, but yeah, I mean you could get it. It was like it was a thing.
right? Yeah, and then the next distro. So you use SUSE, and then my next distro was a Fedora.
Okay,
Fedora.
nice.
Fedora had really cool icons, big icons. Especially those the GNOME desktop was really nice. Fedora was promoting GNOME a lot and very simplified GNOME environment and big icons on the desktop. It looked really cool. Uh, so Windows nowhere in terms of design, Fedora looked really cool. In terms of functionality, Fedora was slow. I would say that especially the package management system in Fedora, RPM. My last distro and is till now is Ubuntu.
Yeah. Yeah, Ubuntu has such great support, and they're targeted by so many developers and companies because of their, I don't know why, but yeah, this machine that I'm using right now has an Ubuntu derivative operating system on it as well, just for that reason.
Yeah. So the one thing I liked about Ubuntu, and it's the main reason for me to switch to Ubuntu completely, was the package management system was way faster than RPM based the Debian system.
Yeah.
The dev file is much easier and it's just quicker. And if you go the RPM, right, it will download a lot of garbage, excess cache, and
Right.
yeah. And because I didn't have the first internet, I was just, what the heck is doing? Why is it downloading so much stuff, right? And so slow. And Ubuntu, yeah, really, it's very fast and quick. And the APD system.
Yeah,
And
and
this is,
sorry, go ahead.
well, that's the main reason I switched to Ubuntu.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think I don't know. Did you start with like the DNA desktop wallpaper Fedora? Because I know that was that was pretty huge when they came out with that release. I don't remember which one it was.
DNA?
Yeah, they had like
Yeah,
the theme.
DNA. I remember
Yeah, they had the
DNA.
DNA theme.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I used that DNA version as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, that one was huge with people.
There was, if you look at the Linux wallpapers, right? That's just so creative and the artwork so beautiful. Can't find any other
Yeah.
in the Windows world. You can't find this. I mean, Linux is really creative. Linux world.
Yeah, have you checked out Open Mandriva lately? Because I really appreciate their artwork. I don't actually have an install of their desktop, but I like their artwork.
So they're still going, kicking.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
I think yeah, I never tried Mandriva recently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Rosa Labs bought Mandriva in 2011, and then Open Mandriva became a thing, and so did Magia. And it's kind of like where different developers and contributors went to different projects and stuff. And I think Magia is still downstream from Rosa Labs. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it still exists, kind of. It's not the same, but yeah, I have a Magia machine, but it's not the same. You can't go like buy the power pack, and then I think some of the Rosa Labs offerings you have to be like a Russian citizen because
Right.
yeah, they have some like weird agreement with their government where you can't even use the operating system unless you're a citizen of Russia or something. So it was
Oh.
like kind of surprising, like okay, but Yeah. Also, I was thinking about that kind of the around that time. What 2000? Gosh, what are we talking? We're talking like 2008, 2009, as far as Fedora.
Yeah.
About that time, yeah. I remember, like, at least on my system, having to build dependencies and stuff still, and that didn't seem to be so much the case on Ubuntu at the time.
Yes.
I remember like 804 and 810, like it just if you wanted something you could install it and you weren't like that's it was weird to me. I'm like, whoa, I don't have to build any dependencies here. I was like, this is cool. But anyway, okay, so I have a question for you. I'm trying to ask everybody that I interview this question. What is your opinion on the current state of Linux as a desktop experience compared to your past experiences?
It's still the same.
Still the
Nah,
same?
just
Yeah.
kidding. I would say um, I don't see Linux any different from Windows. Any user can use Linux. Um, people, if people have trouble using Linux, then probably it's for something else. Because same trouble exists in Windows, literally. Because I use Linux and Windows. Linux for my work as well as my personal things, and Windows for my work, basically, mainly. Certain software available for Windows, that's why I have to use Windows. But Windows, I don't see Linux has a lot of problems. Uh, Linux is really, really stable and how should I put it? If you want a stable system, you go for Linux.
Yeah, I would agree. I think
Yeah.
there's quite a few people that I've talked to that have the opinion that it's very stable, but it's somewhat compared to maybe times in the past, it's somewhat boring. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, some people would say Linux is boring. Let me clarify this thing. Why people find Linux boring, right? Because if you're coming from Windows world, right, Mac world, you're used to saying like colorful applications like from different vendors, right? They have a specific theme, and they all look different, like bells and whistles, basically. But if you think most people they don't really care about these things, right? Only few people, maybe gamer, certain group of people, but majority of us we don't really care. Uh, we don't really look for certain this. But I really don't find theme-made applications that good looking. I find consistency and other things more beautiful. I don't. So for certain group of people, only very specific, I would say maybe they would find Linux boring, but not. I would say majority would think Linux is really fancy and beautiful than Windows compared to other operating system, whether you call Mac or Windows.
Interesting. Yep, I appreciate your opinion on that because I want to ask everybody kind of get what they get where they at, what they think about the situation with Linux, and yeah, I mean, you have a pretty solid opinion there on that. So I mean, that's a good point.
Only niche area. Yeah, if you look at a small group of people, they would think Linux is boring, but majority would say this is amazing.
Yeah.
The main reason in Linux is, I would say, a lot of people because it has to do with the marketing and because we still have majority of the computer comes pre-installed with Windows, right?
Yeah.
So Linux world is kind of only for people who kind of discovering the computer or exploring.
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember there for a while, Dell was selling in a '08. They were selling pre-installed Ubuntu desktop systems, and I guess they didn't do too well. I knew somebody that bought one, but I didn't buy one at the time. But I did sign the thing saying
I
yes.
buy as well. If I can install by myself, why I have to buy it?
Well, I know like a lot of people signed the petition. Yes, please sell Ubuntu machines, and then like maybe 1% actually bought one, right?
Maybe we need something like with the Linux. You know Windows business model would not work with Linux. So because Linux is entirely different,
Yeah.
we're talking about a different thing. So it needs a different kind of business model to work.
Well,
So
what do you think
yeah,
about Chromebooks? I mean, they're running the Linux kernel, but they're, you know,
yeah. Like I said, Google. What Google did is exactly um, any company wants to promote Linux, right? They have to make sure it. If you look at Google Chrome, it's for only niche area, like only targeting a specific people. Google is saying, "Oh, this is very fast. If you just want to browse internet, you go for Google Chrome. If you don't worry about other things, right?"
yeah,
So Google kind of won the thing using this kind of business model, and they succeed because they use Linux, and yeah, if they used Windows kind of business model, it wouldn't work. If they say, "Oh, this is for everything, you can do anything, gaming or browsing and production productivity, everything," no, it would not work. Would not work. So they stream it down Linux, and yeah, they created the desktop, their own desktop on top of Linux, and then just for browsing.
yeah. And I think I know at least for myself, when I talk about Linux, I'm talking about GNU Linux, GNU software with Linux. Like, I'm not,
Yeah,
I don't mean like Android or Chromebook, even though those are technically Linux, but it's so, locked down. It's not really freedom respecting, I guess you would say.
yeah.
Well, okay, so I guess I've asked you that question, and I didn't really have anywhere else to go from there. But do you have anything else that you want to mention, or any topics you want to talk about?
Well, yeah. Um, I want to ask you something. So, should I ask?
Go for it. Go for it.
I should not be interviewing you, might.
That's fine. Go for it.
um, so, what is your opinion about Linux? Why do you use Linux, and why you like it? Why do you like it?
Why do I like it so much?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say honestly, it started with it was kind of the same kind of experience that you had. It was very free, very open. I could modify things, I could change things if I wanted to go into a configuration file and edit that. I could do that. Everything was just kind of there.
yeah,
To where I could modify it, and so I stuck with it. I mean, honestly, I dual booted for, oh gosh, it would have been about 5 years, and then I just went just to Linux, and
yeah.
it's
You
just for,
tried very hard, man. I appreciate that.
yeah. I mean,
You tried very hard. Yeah.
yeah, it was just for the it got so easy, especially with Wi-Fi and all that stuff around
Yeah.
2006, 2007.
Yeah.
That I mean, I had like one of those Broadcom. I actually still have two of them, but the Broadcom PCMCIA. I don't remember the chipset, but they just worked out of the box, on Linux, and at that point it was like I'm sticking with this all the time. But I don't know. It's just the freedom of it, and
Yeah.
especially because my first experience was Mandrake, and I was able to run Windows in a virtual machine and use whatever I needed to use there in a virtual machine, and that was in 2001. So that was handy, and then it's just all the customization, all the desktops that were available. It was just like a whole. It just broadened the world of computing to a point where it's like everything else just seems kind of, I don't know, not attractive at all to use, except as maybe a utility. I know I used a virtual machine for Netflix for a long time until,
Right.
until they came out with support for Linux, and the same for Steam. I played Steam games.
Do you play games on Linux?
Oh, I do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I used to have to use Wine to run Steam to play, Half-Life 2 or whatever game I wanted to play. But
Right.
yeah, even
If
they
you need help, ask me.
absolutely. But yeah, I mean that's kind of why it's just I think over the years it kind of developed into more understanding and respecting the ideology behind free software or
Yeah,
the
do you like that ideology, free software ideology or no?
yeah, the GPL, like
And
as I
GPL, GNU license and
yes,
all
yeah,
that.
exactly. Like when I kind of started to understand that a little more, because I started with proprietary Linux, but when I started to understand that a little more, I
Yeah.
thought, you know what, this is good. I believe in this. This is cool. So I mean, it's partly because I don't go a day without using the terminal, so I wouldn't be comfortable on another system. Maybe I could get away with Mac, but I don't. I don't support their, I don't support their ecosystem, kind of an idea. But yeah, I'd say it's mostly technical, but it's more become even a little bit of the ideology of free software for me. Just respecting
Uh,
that. So
right. Yeah. Same for me. I would say it was kind of new for me. All the new license and free software. What do you mean by free software,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
It's not very clear, you know.
it's confusing because it's like it has nothing to do
It's
with
confusing.
cost. It has nothing to do with
Yeah.
monetary. It has everything to do with I don't know, respecting your ability to do whatever you want with software, even change it.
Yeah. Freedom. That's why we have the revolution of free software now, GitHub.
Yeah. Yep. That's a
I think it
fact.
all started with this Linux and GNU process movements, and yeah, actually, I kind of like the philosophy of it, but certain areas, yeah, proprietary, I would say, yeah, it has. I think both has its places, right?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, like if you're yeah, just like a copyright thing.
Well, I think the majority of, at least the majority of people that I talk to, they would describe themselves as being a pragmatic user, somebody that just wants the right tool for whatever job they're trying to get done. And,
Uh,
I totally respect that as well. It's not, I don't get, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
that's cool. That's fine. It doesn't bother me, and I kind of feel like sometimes if I bring up like free software that it bothers people, and I'm like, well, whatever, that's it's just an opinion. It's just
Yeah,
an opinion.
there is another thing is like people think free software means it's a crap software, right? This is
Well, it
one
is.
of the
It is
this is one
sometimes.
of the area actually hurting Linux desktop coming to the desktop world because
Yeah.
whenever you give Linux for free and people think, oh, this must be crap, but it's actually quite the opposite, right? Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. It is
It's
the opposite.
stable,
It's
it's
fantastic.
reliable. Then I have to give example to people. Oh no, no, actually Linux is used by Google for their data centers, right? Linux is used by all these big corporate giants like Amazon for for their infrastructure and all that. So it's not really that crap. Otherwise, why would they use it,
Yeah,
right?
and you kind of have to take into consideration that the reason that free software exists is because proprietary software was a bit crap, and like
Yeah,
Stallman couldn't make the changes that he wanted to, and it wasn't doing what he wanted it to do, and he made binary compatible stuff, and just so that it would be less crap, right? So, I mean, it's kind of the opposite, but I mean, there's bad software that you pay money for, and there's bad software that you don't
I'd
pay money
say
for.
when you're promoting Linux, I think we should not call it free. Then people we
Yeah, yeah.
scare away people. So we scare away people. We should sell it. Just like if you're promoting Linux to your friend, you just sell it. Oh, instead of buying Windows for $60, I give you something similar. It's $10, say.
Yeah.
Just burn the DVD and give it to your friend.
Yeah,
It's cheaper,
perfect.
and it does the same thing.
Well, I mean, not all Linuxes are free. You got Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and there's others out there that
Of
you
course,
pay for.
if
But
you're trying to build a server,
yeah, yeah. Well, and
uh,
there's a Linspire. They started back up in
yeah, this
2017.
way I remember it. I was shocked.
Yeah,
I literally thought they remade the whole Windows in Linux.
yeah,
When it came out, I tried Linux. I remember it was really cool when it came out, and I was really fascinated by it. I tried to run a couple of Windows programs on the games, but it failed miserably,
was
and then
that
I gave up.
the like a 2003
Yeah, when
Windows?
it came out.
Yeah,
Yeah, Linux Pair. Because they're promoting on their what's the disk cover, they said, "Oh, this is Windows compatible. It can run Windows
right.
programs, Windows games."
Well, I mean, sometimes, sometimes it would. It just depends. I never bought a copy of that. I did buy when Robert I can't remember his last name, but when his company purchased all of the Linspire code and they relaunched Linspire, I bought that when it first came out, and it's what it is. So, you know. But I think that's the only desktop that I can think of where you have to pay to use it.
Yeah, this one of the I think I would say so. Yeah, one of the paid Linux was available in those days.
Yeah.
But Red Hat they tried really hard to bring out Linux as the desktop version. But Red Hat, I would say they gave up. Then they transitioned into the server market. They tried with the MP3 and all that license, and they kind of gave up. But Red Hat is still today, they're the main contributor of Linux desktop development. If you call, say, whether it's sound library of Linux, sound system, Pulse audio, all the back end stuff, still Red Hat is the main guy contributor. Ubuntu is only has to do with the front end stuff. Yeah, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can still buy. I was just thinking about this as far as codecs goes. You can still buy Fluendo codecs packs in their media player. Yeah, you can.
I remember.
If you want to.
But we have FFmpeg now.
I know. Yeah, we pretty much have everything's just kind of there. I mean, but I don't know how legal all of it is. I know the MP3 is what do they call that? Public domain now. So, or was that?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that ends it.
Yeah, the patent should not. Yeah, I remember there's something similar like this in OpenGL world, right? It's important for Linux gamers. S3 texture compression. And the patent just expired like a couple of years ago. And now we have, now you don't need to worry about this patent and stuff. This particular feature of OpenGL is used by many games.
All right, so I think I'm ready to wrap it up over here. I just want to remind everybody, github.com/imamhs. That's IMAMHS. And what is your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel, you can find me Imam DXL or Onthim Linux Gaming if you search on YouTube.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And I guess we'll call it the end here.
Thank you so much, Matt. Nice to talk to you. You have a nice evening.
You too.
Talk to you soon again. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can join me on Locals at LibreQuest.locals.com, where I'll be posting exclusive interviews, some of my music, and other things, and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about as well. For other ways to support me, you can visit LibreQuest.org, that's LibreQuest.org, and thank you for being a listener. Until next time, I'm Matt, and this is LibreQuest.